Good afternoon, everybody. Before we get started, I do want to address something I know that continues to be a point of conversation out there, which is the eyes of Texas. Put a lot of thought into this over the weekend, and I jotted some notes down that I want to share with you. President Hartsell and Chris O'Connie both shared information last week on where we are with our school song, the ongoing conversations we're having, and the committee they're forming to chronicle its full history. That will be led by Professor Richard Reddick. There are very strong emotions on both sides, and this is something we've been working through since our campus initiatives were announced back in July, and as a football program we've discussed this and will continue to. I've encouraged our staff and team to join me in participating after games if they are comfortable doing that. I do believe it's important that we acknowledge and thank our fans after a hard-fought game. Sam Ellinger and some of our team did join me in standing with the fans who had cheered us so hard and helped us greatly in our comeback against Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl, and I applaud them and respect that. Many of our coaches and staff also remained on the field with them to show appreciation to our great university and our fans, and we will continue to encourage participation for all of those that are comfortable doing so. That said, some members of our program have concerns and aren't comfortable participating at this time, and I respect that as well. This is an issue that we will continue to have meaningful conversations about and work through as the campus committee gathers more information and addresses it. These findings will allow us to continue our conversations about the eyes of Texas moving forward. I did, again, want to be sure to address that before we started, and also once again wanted to thank our fans that were there at the Cotton Bowl on Saturday. It was obviously a very heartbreaking loss, but you undoubtedly helped us capture a ton of energy there in the fourth quarter, and we definitely fed off of that. Getting on to the football side of things, injury update. You know, we are banged up, but the bye week does come at a very opportune time for us. Chris Brown has a shoulder sprain, actually was a re-aggravation, had it on the back and then aggravated it to the front, so he's in a sling this week. Expect him back at practice next week. Roshan Johnson, as you all know, re-aggravated an AC sprain as well in his shoulder. He's day-to-day, hoping to have him by the end of the week. Jake Smith, really weird deal, re-aggravated his hamstring in pregame warm-up. But he's day-to-day, expect him back by the end of the week. Caden Stearns was battling a turf toe all week, tried to give it a go in pregame warm-up and just couldn't push off to where any of us felt comfortable putting him out there. Hope to have him back by the end of practice this week. And then Josh Thompson with a slight ankle sprain. He would be out today if we practice, but he is also expected back by the end of the week. Again, very hard-fought game. Really proud of our guys for the way that they fought. Again, still playing some sloppy football that we have to get corrected and in a hurry. But I saw a lot of improvement, a lot. I said on the conference call, not sure how many of you guys were listening, but you know, through 4 quarters, we held Oklahoma's offense to 380 yards. We got 3 turnovers, held them to, I believe it was 5 of 16 on 3rd down, and I think I read somewhere where that's only the 3rd time since 2015 that they've been held under 400 yards through 4 quarters. And so I think we are making some very tangible progress on defense. Got to stop the run better defensively, and as much progress as we made in red zone defense the week prior. I think we took a slight step back, and obviously in the overtime couldn't keep them out of the end zone. And then offensively, got to run the ball better. We all know that, and we've got to find ways to help our offensive line. Did not handle Oklahoma's movement of their defensive line real well. They were twisting and moving pretty much every snap, and that was difficult for us, and we need to do a better job with that. And then obviously second punt blocked in 3 weeks. We met very extensively last night and yesterday, and continue to evaluate not only the scheme but the personnel that we have in there, and I don't anticipate that being an issue moving forward. So again, not the outcome that any of us desired or hoped for, but in a crazy year like this, I was pleased to see some very tangible improvement in some areas. And again, the bye week comes at a very opportune time for us to continue to hammer home, rep after rep after rep after rep in our quest to get to the point where we feel like we need to be. Questions?
Roger, go ahead.
Tom, you talk about crazy year. You get the bye week, but you're initially thinking you're going to at least get to see Baylor play OSU. They don't get that game. They don't get a week of practice. It seems like it's, I don't want to say uneven playing field, but it's just so many variables in this season that we've never seen before. I mean, how does that affect you guys? I mean, you don't know if you're going to play Baylor based on what's going on right now with them.
Not a whole lot. Our focus, rightfully so, has to be about us. We've got so many things that we need to clean up, so many things that, again, without a spring practice, without a normal training camp, and trying to install new systems on both sides of the ball, we need the practice, and we need to work. And our plan, we're not even going to introduce Baylor until Friday. Our plan is to go out there, have very short practices because we need to heal up, and our guys are tired. We need to heal and we need to recover, but we also we need the good on good work. I felt like over the last couple of weeks, I think I said it after the game too, despite our scout team's effort, and they give us such a great look and are so selfless in what they do, we have thoroughly missed the full speed reps against the caliber of competition that our ones and twos provide either side of the ball respectively. So not too concerned. You're right. It is crazy. I feel for the guys at Baylor. Obviously you guys know my relationship with Dave, and goes back over 20 years, and I feel for them. I don't know exactly what all is going on within their program, but right now, especially this week, moving forward, this is about us and fixing the things that are fixable that we are deficient at right now.
Chuck, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, after the Oklahoma game, you talked about how even with the bye week, it's not like you can pack the team up and head to Junction, Texas to fix everything. But I was curious, you mentioned kind of the long list and what you want to, get back to doing in terms of, the practices. But in your mind, are there 2, 3, 4 things that absolutely positively have to get fixed within the next 2 weeks?
Yes. Red zone defense, rushing defense on that side of the ball, running the football on the offensive side of the ball. We've got to find creative ways to get our receivers open versus man coverage. I thought Mike did a great job of adjusting within the game plan. Thought we could match up well against their corners. We didn't early in the game, and called a lot of our crossing series routes, which helped our guys get open, which was good to see that in-game adjustment. But we've got to run the ball better on that side of the ball. And then, certainly I think our punt team, not just the protection but the coverage, was a huge factor in that game as well, and should not be, and we need to make sure that it never is again. You know, the penalties. You know, we've got to play a cleaner brand of football. I think you're seeing it all across the country, but that is not an excuse. We've got to make sure that we're the exception and not the rule, and that we play a cleaner brand of football when we're out there on Saturdays.
Chip, you're up.
Tom, I just want to follow up a little bit on the running game. Keontae, it seems, has been your best running back this season, and he only got 3 carries in the OU game. Any reasoning behind him only carrying it 3 times?
Well, he fumbled his first carry, which was big, especially coming off of last week, and you know, we felt it best for him to you know, regain his composure. You know, he was sick about it, and felt it was important for him to take a step back for a little bit. And then obviously when Roshan got re-injured, we inserted Keontae back in the game, but at that point I think, you know, we were down 14 in the second half, and we weren't running the ball. We weren't blocking them well up front to begin with, and you know, the best course of action was to throw the ball a little bit more. So no other reason other than you know, he needed a break after losing the fumble on the very first carry, to get his mind you know, back to where it needed to be, and he did, to his credit, and we put him back in, and we've got a ton of confidence in him.
John High, go ahead.
The team hasn't played at the level that they're capable of consistently the past couple of weeks, and I know coaches don't like to use the word panic, but why shouldn't you use that word with the talent that this team has, and they keep making the same mistakes?
Well, because I know that any new system requires a massive amount of repetition, and you know, we're getting those repetitions on the run. We're trying to accelerate it as much as we can, but you know, we are a work in progress, and when you're installing a new defense, you're installing a new offense, you know, there's going to be some bumps in the road, and that's not an excuse. Again, it's not something that we say is okay, but I think it's also reality too. And so we've got a bye week, and it's important for us to make the most of all of those practice reps that we can get in this bye week to continue our trajectory of improvement.
Brian, go ahead.
Tom, we got to go back to the beginning. I mean, I understand that the eyes is a nuclear bomb in your lap that nobody knows how to disarm. I get it. I totally get it. But what do you say to the fan base that all they see is 2-2, their traditions are being taken away, and nothing is happening here in the 4th year of your program?
Well, I wouldn't say nothing, but I would argue on that. But other than that, I would say what I said to start the press conference, which is we thank them. We thank them very much for their support, and we understand that at the University of Texas, they've got tremendously high expectations. And I can assure you that our players are working their ever-living you-know-what off to achieve those very high standards and expectations. And there will be you know, our guys hold themselves to the highest of standards, as well as our coaches. And so what I would say to them is thank you. And we appreciate their support. And we are working night and day around the clock to give them the team that everyone wants to see out there.
Bob, go ahead.
Tom, this is obviously another one of those tipping points in the season when you lose a couple games and you have this, you know, all this still in front of you. What tells you that you're not losing your players, that they aren't going on their own or doing their own things, or that you're going to lose them, you know, as you move forward in this program?
Well, one is the effort that hopefully everybody on this call saw throughout the game, but most importantly there in the fourth quarter, some critical stops. We held Oklahoma to 0 points in the fourth quarter. You know, everybody, you know, you want to laud the offense for those last couple drives, but you know, the defense gave us the ball in order to do that. And so in terms of, so I just don't, a team that is divided, a team that's fractured, a team that has lost faith or hope, they don't play like that. We've all been on this call, all of us on this call have been around college football long enough to know that you know, teams that play that hard with that much belief are teams that are together. And again, over half of our team was on the team in 2018 when we lost 2 in a row and wound up in the championship game and beat a number 5 Georgia team in a New Year's 6 bowl game. So especially in 2020, even if it weren't 2020 and everything that we've had to go through, this would not be the end of the world. And our players, they played a lot of football and they understand that there's a lot of football left to be played, and they're excited to get back out there and go to work and go 1-0 this week again, or next week against Baylor.
Go ahead, Anwar.
Just following up on Brian's question, Coach. Obviously, the fans do want the players out there. I know you said the comfort level of the players for the eyes, but the majority of them didn't feel comfortable enough to hang around. And you won't have the study until January, and you got a game next week. So what kind of compromise would you idealistically like to have until everything is kind of, you know, settled? Could players come out and just stand as they did in the previous years and not participate? Is there a compromise to be had here?
Well, I think, again, you know, I put a lot of thought into, you know, the words that I said to open the press conference. And, you know, I know our leadership, both at a university level and an athletic department level, is working very hard on that, and we will follow their lead wherever that takes us.
Kirk, go ahead.
Tom, on Saturday, when you were talking about the offense and your identity, and you mentioned it on the conference call too, and you know, I know Sam threw the ball 53 times and it was 4 overtimes, but are y'all considering maybe that is who y'all are, and you just need to throw 50 or 60 times in a game? Is that a serious consideration?
A little bit, yeah. I think 50 or 60 might be a little bit of an exaggeration, Kirk, but I know this. Every great championship team that has been around, including the one in our league that's won it the last 5 years, has had a very formidable running attack. And I'm not saying we're going to flip some kind of switch and all of a sudden, you know, show up against Baylor and be able to run the ball for 300 yards. That's not what I'm saying. But I do know that in order to win championships, you've got to be able to run the football when you need to run the football. And are we a good passing team right now? Yeah, we're pretty good. Sam is elite. We've got receivers that are developing. You know, a lot of people, I'm so proud of Jordan Whittington for the contribution that he made in the game. A lot of people forget that's his first. I mean, he played what, a quarter against UTEP or whatever it was, but that's his first game, full game at wide receiver without a spring practice, with very limited spring ball because of his injuries, or excuse me, training camp. So we're a very inexperienced group at wide receiver that is a work in progress, and so we've got a lot of areas we've got to improve upon offensively, but we do know we've got a quarterback that can throw it. We do know that we are developing at wide receiver. We're not where we need to be right now, but I also know, to the crux of your question, you've got to be able to run the football efficiently. It doesn't have to be every snap, certainly, but you've got to be able to run the football efficiently to win championships.
Mike, you're up.
Tom, obviously, Texas football is always the topic of conversation around the nation. Everyone is expecting a lot from this football team. But you personally, when you're watching these games and you see your team getting these penalties, making these mistakes from veteran players, obviously I know you're disappointed, but what's your message to them about being undisciplined in those times where Sam gets down to the 2-yard line and Kerstetter comes back and get a dead ball penalty? What is your message to the team?
Well, I think they all need to be taken individually and see why and how and what. And you mentioned Derek Kerstetter's. Derek Kerstetter's a captain, and nobody's more sick about the penalty than he is. As he's done very many times, he had assumed that Sam was still up and driving the pile, and that he was coming in to push the pile, much like he's done for 4 years here. And we've got to be smarter in that instance and know that he is down and that that's not a pile, and he knows that. And so I think they're all different. Some come from an over-exuberance of trying to do too much. Some come from a lack of attention to detail in your technique, but they all need to be addressed singularly, and we have, and guys that commit foolish penalties will be punished. I've never been in a program that we've done that before. Some of the new coaches have been, and so moving forward, we'll punish foolish penalties. Again, it's the only thing left that we know how to do. We have educated, we have pleaded, we have again, until we're blue in the face. And guys, I cannot tell you the amount of attrition that some of these guys have. There is no malice. There's no lack of care. These are penalties that, like in Derek Kerstetter's case, it's just losing your wits for a split second, and it wind up costing us. So we've obviously got to play smarter, and we've got to rein that in and trust our technique and trust our training, in some of the things where a lack of fundamentals, are what gets us in trouble.
We got 3 last questions we got time for, and we'll start with Cedric.
Yes, Tom, your guys did leave it on the field against Oklahoma, and we know that's an all-time rivalry game. From the outside looking in, we see division. We see Sam and a couple others singing the eyes with some coaches, while many others went to the locker room. Long term, what's your level of concern against a Baylor, against an Oklahoma State, against an Iowa State in the area of unity, especially now at what appears to be a crossroads for your team?
Well, I think every week's a crossroads. We were at a crossroads after TCU. We're at a crossroads now. The level of unity is phenomenal. It's great right now. Our guys are, again, you don't see that kind of effort and tenacity and belief from an outfit that is not unified. And they all have the same goal, which is to improve. And we feel like, I know it's not quick enough. It's not, the magnitude of it isn't great enough just yet. But I think anytime that you're a young man and you have an outcome that isn't what you would hope for, and it stings and it hurts really, really bad. But when you can watch the video and take away some tangible examples of improvement, it makes going to work to fix the areas that need to be fixed a lot more palatable. And our guys are hungry and ready to get back out there on the practice field to improve. And again, they know that there is so much of this season left to play. And so, you know, those names of other teams you rattled off, I think, again, are irrelevant. What we're concerned about right now is Texas and us, you know, getting that last little bit, the last little bit that happens to be the hardest little bit, cleaned up, polished up, and at a level to where we all feel comfortable about it.
Danny, go ahead.
Tom, through these 4 games, how would you grade your offensive line and specifically Denzel and Christian on the right side?
I don't know that it's fair to grade overall. I think, you know, they played very much improved against TCU. Nobody up front played well against Oklahoma. So to single those 2 guys out, I don't think is fair at all. But was happy with the progress that we made against TCU. We definitely took a step back this past week against Oklahoma, but we've got 2 weeks to fix the fixables, and they're fixable. And we've got to put our nose to the grindstone and make sure that you know, we're doing everything we can as coaches to give them the tools, the repetitions, and the looks that they need to get better.
We've got one last one. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Coach. You know, you mentioned a little bit about your defense in the third and fourth quarters, late in the third and early fourth quarters. They're the ones that gave you the opportunity to get back in the game, obviously, with 4 minutes to play. Who on that side of the ball kind of stepped up and took the leadership of Oklahoma was kind of dinking and dunking, and they just kind of seemed like they had enough of it. Who on that side stepped up for you?
Joseph Osai. He plays so hard. Guys, if you I don't know what kind of justice the TV copy that most of America sees gives Joseph and his effort level, but I know that the coach's copy of the video that we watch is phenomenal effort. Phenomenal. Not good, not great, I mean phenomenal. Joseph Osai plays his ever-living you-know-what off for this university and this program, and he is a guy that I know that the entire defense really, really looks to and feeds off of because of his effort level, tenacity, physicality, and you know, his being in the right place at the right time.